What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so I'm a little bit late talking about this, but I want to talk about something that Dan Lebatard recently talked about on his podcast. And he was speaking about the fact that it seems to be a cardinal sin to even bring up the subject of LeBron James and possible PED usage in the NBA. Now, of course, the NBA protects LeBron James. We all know that. We all know that if it ever got out that he used PEDs, not only would it be, for all sensible people at least, the end of his career as far as legitimacy is concerned, but it would be perhaps, now I think about it, it would be the biggest scandal in the history of the NBA. I was thinking about the Malice at the Palace, but it would make that look like child's play, especially if it gets out that the NBA was complicit, which I believe they are, in covering up this guy using PEDs, allegedly. Okay? So Dan Lebatard brought this up. I remember hearing about this, and it's so funny how his partner on the show was like basically trying to poo-poo any suspicion or anybody who even brings it up. Like it's just rubbish. There's no evidence, and we shouldn't even be talking about it. Look, at the end of the day, all you gotta do is use your common sense. He's a 40-year-old man in a sport where we've never seen anybody his age put up those types of numbers. Even Michael Jordan at age 40 was a much degraded player as far as skills is concerned compared to what we had saw just 3 years prior. Now, of course, he had retired, put on weight, gotten out of shape, and that accelerated the deterioration process. But still, there was the deterioration process expected of someone who was older. But he still played very well. With LeBron James, what we're seeing doesn't make sense. It doesn't biologically compute with what we've seen in every other instance in the history of sports. Even other Methuselahs, like Bernard Hopkins, Archie Moore, George Foreman, Carl Yastrzemski, Pete Rose, other guys, other Methuselahs who were able to play at a high level as they got older. Kareem, we still saw a deterioration in their production. We're not really seeing that with LeBron, except for a slight reduction in speed and athleticism. He's playing more like a guy who's 35 rather than 40. And I'm sorry, but there's something not right here. There's something rotten in Denmark, all right? There's something rotten in Denmark, and I don't think that that's out of bounds. Now, people can sit there and say that, oh, well, this is ridiculous. Look, his wife, his trainer, and I think a friend, right, were all linked to the biogenesis investigation. That's suspicious, strongly suspicious. And not to mention the fact that LeBron Ramon James himself, people say it's out of bounds to be suspicious, but do we remember and forget that he himself was investigated? So if he was investigated, there was suspicion that he was doing something wrong. He was found, he was cleared, I should say. But let's not forget that these types of PEDs, right? PEDs have advanced so much since the days of Barry Bonds, you know what I'm saying, which was just 20 years ago. EPO, just from our little bit of research, has an extraordinarily short shelf life as far as being detectable in the system. I think 4 to 5 hours. So it's very easy for someone to use performance-enhancing drugs in today's atmosphere and still clear a test, especially if you are an athlete who is afforded the knowledge of knowing when you're going to take that test. By the way, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it rumored that LeBron wasn't drug tested in the Olympics? Or if he was, the results were never known or publicized. But anyway, getting back to my point, I just don't like how people pick and choose when they want to talk about the importance of the integrity of the game. Like Barry Bonds never popped dirty, but yet he has been ostracized from baseball. He will never be in the Hall of Fame, most likely because the media didn't like him. Not because he violated some rules, because that's bullshit. That's poppycock. Because if it's really all about that, then why is David Ortiz in the Hall of Fame? He popped dirty twice. So it's really about who you like. That's what it's really all about. To be quite honest, it's who you like. Now, see, they had to keep those other guys out because then it would have been, they would appear to be very hypocritical. But it was really all about Barry Bonds. That's who they didn't like. And they also didn't like that he broke a record that they were all of a guy who they were rooting for 3 years prior. So all of these writers were, the boys of summer from the 50s and 60s growing up watching their favorite ball players like Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle and Hank Aaron. And here they got Barry Bonds, a guy who they couldn't stand because he was terrible with the media. And he said that was a mistake as he got older and he realized it. And I think in subsequent interviews, he said that he would have dealt with them differently if he had known how it would have affected his legacy. But he didn't like them. His father, Bobby, didn't like the media. And he treated them pretty bad. I'm not going to sit back like he didn't treat a lot of the media members pretty shitty. And they got back at him when he broke the home run record 3 years later. Because you trying to tell me that you don't think that Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa and Jose Canseco and Rafael Palmeiro and Manny Ramirez and scores of others, Roger Clemens, you don't think they were using, or I'll put it to you better, you don't think that they didn't know that they were using? You're out of your mind. They knew it, but they were ignoring it. But they weaponized their acute knowledge of probable steroid use when it comes to Barry Bonds, and they put it back at him. And they punished him. They punished him for that. Just like that lone voter who didn't vote for Ricky Henderson because he didn't like Ricky because Ricky was too arrogant for him. So you put your own personal feelings above what this man did in the hall. They're arrogant. They're an arrogant, elitist bunch. The media. They're the only group, the fourth estate, that don't have any type of system of checks and balances to help offset their power. Look, even our three branches of government, legislative, executive, and judicial, have a system of checks and balances. There's nothing to check the fourth estate. And they've grown imperial in that power. And LeBron Ramon James realizes that. That's why he has so many people, so many plants in the media, and that's why he doesn't want to retire anytime soon, because he knows he doesn't have things set in place the way he wants them. All the truth is going to come out. So he wants to have enough people set in place so that all these lies and obfuscations can keep being put out there. Winston Churchill once said something. He was being interviewed by a media member. And he said, well, how do you think history will treat you? And Winston Churchill said, I think history will treat me very well. And he said, well, why do you think that? He said, because I intend to write the history. And one of the things we know Winston Churchill did was that he wrote extensively favorable favorable biographies of himself. And there have been other very favorable autobiographies written of him, although we know some of the evils that he and the atrocities that occurred under his prime ministership. What I'm getting at is that LeBron James wants to alter the landscape with the media to put out so much mistruths and so many lies and obfuscations to block from what I think is the truth, and that is that he's a fraud. And I think the truth will come out one day. So I think that what Dan Lebatard is talking about is perfectly within bounds. There is reason to believe that he's doing something and has done something that, allegedly, I think is criminal. And, not criminal, unethical, I should say. Not criminal, but unethical. And I think the truth will come out. And this is why channels like mine are shadow banned, because they don't like what I'm saying. But anyway, tell me what you guys think.